why do you think you made it? Like, why do you think that you made 100,000 in a couple of years and you see so many other people in any business, by the way? I mean, we could talk about real estate, we could talk about financial, we could talk about car sales, we could talk about any industry in the world. Why is it that so many people struggle? I mean, what do you think? What was the difference? Was it just work ethic, or is it something else?
Work ethic's one, but I think commitment's even bigger. We committed when we decided to do it. We decided we were going to do it. Now, that doesn't mean we went full time right away. We kept our jobs in the beginning, started part time, but our mentality was, now our financial business is now our baby. That is now priority number one. Our job is not priority number one. It's going to come behind our business. So I put our business at the forefront, and then I really paid attention to our mentors in business, mentors like Hector Lamarck, who's one of your great mentors also, right? So Hector Lamarck, I was a student of his. I just followed exactly what he said to do. I didn't try to change it. I made a commitment to fully engage in meetings, conference calls, listen to audios. I mean, I just didn't, I didn't try to test it out. Like, let me try this, see if it's going to work. And I made a decision we were going to make this work. And I don't see that with very many people. Most people get in that I see, they try it out. And if it starts going well, then they would commit. The problem is it never goes well with that kind of commitment because they're not fully committing, So you got to have that, I guess, that leap of faith. And for me, it didn't take much faith because there's so many people in our company that are successful that I just thought, well, if they all did it, it's going to work for me too. So for me, it didn't take that big of a leap of faith, but I guess for some people, it's still a leap of faith. It's a belief in themselves. Their belief in themselves is not where it needs to be to do that. But that's what we're here for, to help them get to that place, right?
And to get them to see that that anything is possible with the right focus, with the right work ethic, and with the right vehicle, by the way, because I think that's where people screwed up out there, is they try these little rinky-dinky little deals, right? And with no, maybe no mentors, no training, no background. And next thing you know, they end up failing because they don't have the mindset right. Would you kind of agree with that a little bit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, not every opportunity is considered equal, for sure. And when that's another thing. When we saw financial services, I thought, oh, this is stuff that everybody really uses every day. It's big money stuff. There's a reason why banks have the big buildings and insurance companies have the big buildings. I mean, there's a ton of money in financial services, So yeah, I would agree.
So you cracked $1 million in income in 1 year, by the way. So it wasn't like, you made $1 million over all the, before you were 30, you made $1 million at, like, I don't know what, 28 or something like that. You were
29 and
29 years old. Yeah, 26 and 29 years old. So, I mean, that's a big damn deal. I mean, that does not happen very often. And, what was that like? I mean, how did it feel to make that kind of income at such a young age?
Yeah, so first of all, I got to talk about this for a second, because the one reason that happened is because I kind of fully believed it was going to happen. And it actually, when I first passed my life insurance test, I passed the test. I show up at our Saturday training. And after training, the guy who was training me, his name's Kurt Blackburn, said, hey, congratulations on passing your test. Here's a set of audios you need to buy from me. They're $26. And they were the best of Hector Lamarck Volume 1. So I took it from him and opened it up, went in the parking lot after training, got in my little Mazda 626. These are cassette tapes, right? And I saw Overcoming Objections. It was a 2 cassette tape series. You remember, right? Okay. And I go, Overcoming Objections. If I could overcome every objection, nothing would stop me. So I pop in that tape and I spend the next 4 hours listening to Overcoming Objections 2 or 3 times in the parking lot, taking notes. And within 10 minutes of listening to it, I kind of have this thought come to me: you're going to make $1 million a year at this thing. Now, one of my other leaders in the company, his name's Chris Howard. He had just went over $1 million in income like a couple months prior to that. So I saw this $1 million income. I saw Hector Lamarck was making like $2.5 million. And I'm 22 years old going, that is a crazy amount of money. But as soon as I started listening to Hector, I thought, oh my gosh, he is telling me exactly what to say and how to do this. I know I've got the work ethic. I'm going to make $1 million at this thing. So I called my mom right after I listened to that. I said, Mom, I'm going to make $1 million at this thing. And she goes, oh, that's cute, honey. That's great. Keep going to school, right? But to me, I'm going, I'm going to do this. So that's where it started, Daniel. And then, so we made 20 grand that first year, 104, 183, 230, 280, 330, 660, and then $1 million. So 7 years in the business, went over $1 million in income. And, we were actually on a company trip in Puerto Rico when we went over. And what happened was, the first, I'll say years 2 and 3 were my biggest workload years in my career. All I did was recruit, train, and build people. From there, I started to get to more of being a coach, still a player in the field too, but also a coach of people, and really building and taprooting teams and building agencies and helping my people win. And as they won, we won. So what started to happen is we started to find people that we saw that had good credibility, good work ethic, but maybe they didn't believe in themselves fully yet. So we would work with them and help them build an agency to the point where they were starting to do some big production, and their belief level would go through the roof. And when their belief level went up and they went, man, I could become a regional vice president. Man, I can make a 6-figure income. That's when the magic happened. So we had like 5 or 6 direct leaders to us, all becoming regional vice president at the same time, all going for the $100,000 ring at the same time. And that just propelled our business from 330 grand to 660 the next year to $1 million plus the next year. And as they went out and did their thing, our organization just started to explode. And so getting that belief up with your people, in my opinion, is the biggest ingredient to success. If they believe it, they'll go for it.
So you basically, just through those first few years, your job was to bring them in, to recruit, to train them, take them under your wing, and develop them into independent leaders. That was your job, to coach them to believe in themselves so they could also duplicate what your behavior was those first few years.
Yeah. And, I also learned actually from Brendan Merton. You're good friends with Brendan also. And, one of the things that Brendan's really good at, in my opinion, is not looking too good. Brendan Merton's very good, but he doesn't look like he's very good sometimes, right? And the magic to that is you want your people to look at you and go, wow, that was good, but I can do it better. So I kind of wanted them to always go, man, I could do it just as good, or maybe I could do it a little bit better. So sometimes, leaders get frustrated with me and get into it with me a little bit. And I'd say, hey, listen, I think you could probably do it better. Let's see what you can do,
Yeah.
And it was a challenge. So I think there's an element there too, to get that belief up, is if we're too good or we appear too pretty or fancy and they can't relate to that, they don't, I want my people to go, man, I can do it better than you. That's
right.
I think it's
it's interesting that you say that, because it just reminds me of my first great leader in my organization. His name's Frank Beltran. You probably know Frank and Irma.
Yep.
And it's interesting because I know that the reason why he succeeded in the business is because he looked at me. I was like 10 years younger than he was. So I knew that he was looking at me, this young punk kid that, was pretty good at this and having a little bit of success. Not a lot when he was following me. I wasn't having a lot of success, but I knew that he knew that, man, if this guy could make it, this was going to be a piece of cake for him, because he came in older, more experienced, had a lot more credibility. He was he knew how to close already. He knew how to overcome objections. He knew all that stuff. And so it's just interesting that, looking back, it's kind of the reason why we sort of made it here in a way, is finding how we found those first great people. Is they looked at me and they said, man, he's pretty okay, but we could definitely do better than him.
Yep.
And so does that kind of make sense?
I agree fully. Same thing here. Most of my top guys were older than me in the beginning, as I got more seasoned in the business, a little bit older myself, I recruited some younger guys, but yeah, many of them were definitely older than me. So I had the same
and
mindset.
and a lot of people that are young, Brandon, they're scared to talk to older people. But I think, based on what we're talking about right now, I mean, younger people, that could be life changing for them to go talk to older people, because some of the older people could be the best people that come through in your organization, right?
Again, come back to belief. When I recruited my first people that were 30, 32, 35 years old, and I'm 22, 23, 24, my belief went through the roof. So I go, oh my gosh,
Right.
I can recruit anybody. And it was because we had a good system, we had a good company, and I was fully committed, and they could see it in my eyes, they could hear it in my voice. It wasn't even, I mean, the words I said were one thing, but it was the tonality of my words, because they could tell. When you're convicted, you're convincing.
Thank you for watching our short clips on Alonzo Academy. If you'd like to watch the next short clip, click here. If you'd like to watch the entire podcast, click here.